Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope that works. I just want to start with one point of clarification. Throughout this entire process, there has been a lot of talk of income taxes. I'm not an economist, but I believe in point of fact, by the definition of an income tax, which is that it taxes your income, this is not an income tax. Just want to put that out there. It is a premium that's calculated off of your earned wages. Wages are certainly part of your income, but there's a lot more that goes into your income. Again, not an economist, but is the way I like to think. So, I do want to get away from some of the facts and figures. I think we've all spent a lot of time today looking at that. And I want to talk about the other reason why we're all here. In fact, I think it's maybe most of the reason why we are all here, and that is people and the decisions we make and how it impacts their lives. HB 712 is something that the people of New Hampshire have asked for, and it is up to us to determine whether or not they will get it. So I think what we should do is take a look at what exactly this bill is covering. We've spent a lot of time talking about mechanisms for funding. We've spent a lot of time talking about whether or not it's constitutional, but I have yet to really hear someone talk about what this is going to do for the people. So let's look at that briefly. A lot of you grew up knowing the statement that there are two sure things in life: death and taxes. A lot of the freshmen here who are of the younger demographic can agree that we've grown up with slightly different things, because we have a third item on that list, which is insurance. We have to pay our home insurance, we have to pay our car insurance, we get insurance for our phones, life insurance, dental, vision, and if you want to pay that extra $30 when you fly, you can insure your flight as well. But there's one thing we don't have insurance for, and 712 seeks to fill that gap, and that's an insurance for time. Now, I know that sounds like a strange concept, because once time has passed, we can't get it back. But that's exactly what we want to do with this bill. My wife and I, in May, had our first child. Her name's Ellie, and yes, she is incredible. Thank you for asking. Now, we planned for this. We both were employed by employers who qualified for FMLA. So we both were entitled to 12 weeks off. We both also saved up PTO and sick days. So we were both able to take the full 12 weeks with pay. In this case, 712, not pertinent to us. I remember laying in the hospital with my newborn child and looking at my wife and saying the only thing I could possibly think of: this is awesome. And for those of you who have had children, I think you can agree, it's an incredible experience. 712 wants to ensure the time for New Hampshire citizens to make sure that they can have that experience, that they're entitled to the 12 weeks. My wife and I are planning for our second child. Unfortunately, the child has decided to come a little early. So with a due date of late September, if my wife works with no vacation whatsoever right up until her due date, she'll be able to take 10 weeks off. Some of you may say that's enough. Most countries in the world would disagree, but that's okay. Now, here's the thing. With 712, my wife would be able to get 2 more weeks of time with our child. Now, a lot of people have talked about how this benefits the development of the child. I would like to briefly note that it also significantly benefits the development of us as parents. You can read a lot of books, but until you have a baby crying in your face at 3 in the morning, you don't really know what it's like to be a parent. 712 allows people maybe just those 2 more weeks they need, especially for the mothers, 25% of whom return to work after just 2 weeks after giving birth, which is unfortunate, but I think speaks to the strength of the women in our nation. They would have more time with their newborn children. 712 wants to ensure that time. Now, there are other times in life that we want to be present for. And that takes me back to exactly 3 weeks ago to this day. On my drive down to Concord, one of my best friends called me to inform me that his father had passed away. It was very sudden. He died of a heart attack. Unfortunately, 712 would not have helped his family. But at his father's service, his sister said something that resonated with me, and I thought it was extremely pertinent to what we're talking about here today. And that is simply this. Her entire life, her father was only a phone call away. For the past 11 days, he was gone. There was no way to communicate with him. They were the worst 11 days of her life. And then she said something that I think every single person in this room can understand. If she could have 1 second with that man again, just 1 second to tell him, I love you, goodbye. That's all she was asking for. 712 would ensure that opportunity. Granted, maybe not in this case, but for those of you who have sat in a hospital room with a loved one, watching them slowly pass, you don't need to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from. You don't need to worry about whether or not your boss is going to be breathing down your neck. You have the opportunity to sit with your loved ones and tell them, I love you, goodbye. That is what this bill is about. And we listen to hours of your constituents, young professionals in this state, who got up and asked us, pleaded with us, to make sure that this was something that this body passed. Now, I implore you, when we inevitably press the different colored buttons, to consider pressing green. And my reason is this. We heard from New Hampshire's mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, husbands, wives, employers and employees alike, all of whom told us that this would benefit them, that this is something they wanted. And our job as a representative body is to give the people what they want. So please, vote in favor of HB 712. Thank you. And I won't take any questions. I don't think you have.